Hey everyone, and welcome to Dad to Dad's podcast. I'm Robert, and today I have the pleasure of introducing and interviewing a good friend of mine, a guy I've known for several years, played professional football, was drafted in 2006 by the Atlanta Falcons. Also played for. I don't know why. It's either that or throw up. Also was with the Giants as well as the Lions, and college, Fresno State, Mr. Adam Jennings.
Hey,
How are you doing? What did I miss?
what are you talking about outside of the cough that you mean? Like the yeah, and I know as a Saints fan, I completely understand. But
All right, so let's kind of jump in for a minute. With you were drafted by the Atlanta Falcons in 06. You were like Mr. Special Teams, everything from punt return, kick return, probably both sides with special teams, wide receiver also, correct?
yeah, that's absolutely correct. That's really all I did, plays teams. So I was, covering kicks, returning kicks, blocking for punts, the whole nine. So I mean, I did a little bit of kick return blocking. It's probably when somebody was a little bit better than me, but like Jarius Norwood or guys like that. But yeah, that was really my job. I didn't play receiver, and they didn't put me on the field.
Okay. I want to kind of go through your professional career a little bit in a minute. But first, I want to find out since your professional life, what have you been up to since then? Because when was the last year you played? Was it 10?
Yeah, I think it was like 2009.
Okay.
Was my last actual season.
Okay.
And so since then, like I made a transition into real estate. Started selling investment properties, multi-tenant retail was the initial angle. Went back, got my master's in real estate. Went back, got another master's in which I think you and I have discussed. This is probably the most regrettable master's degree I've ever gotten. um, it was a terrible idea, but it was in engineering, construction in engineering. So.
And then also you have a little coaching career going on as well, right? Right now, at least.
So, coaching my youngest son Ace and then AJ as well. Coach them in baseball and football. So it's that's kind of where my passion lies, is helping those guys out and having fun on the football field, especially. Like, this is my first year back on the field, and it's been an incredible year so far. It's kind of woken me up, brought me back to the game, which I left a long time ago. So,
do you see yourself in any of those players? Like,
yeah.
Can you sit there and be like, oh man, I was just like that kid?
Yeah.
Like, you can?
1,000%. So anybody who's kind of counted out like the underdogs, like I look at those dudes and I'm like, all right, let me give you an opportunity. Let me put you on the field, and that's actually what makes it so much more fun, is looking at those guys.
Do you tell them that?
Not the full description. So
yeah.
I'm just like, like, you're gonna get this opportunity. It's gonna happen. Here you go, pal. And so it's like the guys that are typically counted out. Like, I'll put those dudes up front, or I'll say, oh hey, come stand next to me. Let me swap you in at X.
Yeah.
We'll run a slant. We'll throw it to you and see what the fuck happens. Excuse my language. Like, I'll give you that opportunity.
And then they drop the fucking ball.
Probably.
No, I'm kidding.
But guess what? They're motivated to catch that son of a bitch the next time, because Coach Adam said, you're running the backside slant. You're running the backside slant, and we're going to fucking throw it to you. Because we have free access. It's wide the fuck open. So get your fingers ready, because the ball's coming.
That's too funny. That's too funny. But you enjoy it? with coaching?
I do. Like,
Did you ever think you'd be doing that? Or
not professionally. Like I knew that I'd coach my kids,
yeah,
so like I knew 100%. Like I didn't. You see the sacrifice that coaches have to go through. Spending. I mean, they're up at. I mean, you think about a camp day in football. They're probably up at 5:30. I'm up at 6 as a player, and
yeah,
then their day doesn't end until maybe midnight. Mine
yeah.
ends at 10. Like, so, I've always thought, like, my family, I'm going to sacrifice more for them. So I'll be around, and then I couldn't do it professionally. But,
So tell me this because, my oldest son is playing tackle, and I said, what is it you enjoy? Like, what is it you enjoy about playing? And he said, I love hitting people. And, he said, I love the contact, the hitting and being hit. And he said, but what's really surprised me is the whole team aspect of it. And he said, I love the game.
I missed that. What
he said, I love the game, but what he loves one of the things he loves the most, which is equal with contact, is just the whole team aspect, the team and the teammates. So with you, what did you enjoy most about your football career? Like, was it the contact? Was it the team? Is that something you miss? Is that what?
I like being hit. I like being hurt. Like all of that other stuff. Like that stuff I really did enjoy. Like, the ability to get up after a big shot and kind of
bounce
smile
up
in his face.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts. But I think just the camaraderie, like being with my friends on the field, like that was probably the most fun for me. So it was like after a touchdown, I would always circle back and I'd be like, where are my guys? Where are they at?
Yeah.
They got me here. So that was by far my favorite part.
And then I can't imagine like walking away as well at the end of that too. I mean, because you're leaving that, and and I'm not saying walk away permanently, but just like even at the end of the season at times, because you go through camps, you go through cuts, you go through the season, the ups and downs, and then whoop, we're done.
Yeah, and then it's over. Then it's usually was January because we never made the playoffs. Like. It was. I think I'm pretty sure it was January. We never made the playoffs. I'd go home and I'd sleep for probably about a month or so. For 4 years straight, I'd just go home and sleep. So that's what it was.
And then tell me this. I mean, and I'm kind of going to jump a little bit, but if you were to do a snapshot of, say, one of the most memorial time of your playing career, what would that be? This is it. This is my highlight. What would that be? Is there one, two plays? I have one for you.
Yeah. There's one play that I can remember vividly, probably one of the loudest plays I've ever been a part of. And it was Steve Gleason blocking the punt in New Orleans. Like, I never forgot it. Like, that was a play where I was just like, holy shit. Like,
that was the one I have for you. Tell me about that though.
So I actually, I thought I was on the field. I looked back at the tape. I was not on the field. I was standing on the sideline.
Yeah.
And like the whole emotion of it. So we had gotten beat by Louisiana Tech. So the whole emotion of it was already moving that direction. So La Tech beat us in Fresno, take the WAC title out of our hands. And then I get drafted. I come to New Orleans, still not aware of what the hell is happening. And so the energy's high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they just drafted Reggie.
Wait, so that was your first year?
Yeah, that was my first year. And so we made that trip to New Orleans, and I was like what? Like, I remember the dome, I remember everything, but still I wasn't prepared for that moment.
And let me hold on, let me pause you for a minute, just for people that might not know. This was after the Saints had spent a season. It was after Katrina, where they spent the season. Yeah. They spent the season playing games, if I remember correctly, in San Antonio, A lot of their home games were there. And this was the first game back in the dome, and the dome was not destroyed, but had tremendous damage, significant damage. A lot of people had sought refuge there. Parts of the roof had been blown off, and so the first game back in the dome was against our hated rival, the Falcons. Yeah.
And so I mean I walked ass backwards into that whole situation. And I mean, you talk about like one of the coolest highlights you'll ever see. I wouldn't want it to happen personally to anybody else, but I was just there when Gleason blocked that punt. I was just like, in hindsight, the game was over. Like it was done. And
could you feel like any energy you guys had just sucked out right then?
I mean, we had a squad. So we had Mike, Vick, we had Rod, we had all the guys. Energy wasn't gone, but I just saw it. I was just like, we're fucked. Like we ran into it was kind of a hurricane on our shores. Like we had some really, really good players. Warwick Dunn was there, Algie Crumpler, like the whole nine. We had every weapon you would want to have in a football game. But you know what? We were fucked that day.
Yeah, I can't imagine how loud it was.
Kind of shifted the other direction. So, I mean, that was one of my favorite moments in football. Like it was pretty cool to see it. But no, like they didn't suck the wind out of us. No.
And was the decibel level, the loudness in the stadium, was it just unbelievable when that happened?
I mean, it was incredible. Like it was electric.
Yeah.
Like, it was like. I mean, it was something that would, if you have a pulse, like you would have been pretty fired up. And just watching it, being there was one of my favorite moments.
So I will say this, being a lifelong Saints fan, that brought tears to my eyes when it happened. I actually, embarrassingly, I will admit, most of that game I watched sitting on the couch with tears in my eyes. I am serious. From the first game back in the dome to when that hhappened, the whole U2 and Green Day playing the Super Bowl. I mean, playing the halftime entertainment.
I actually attempted to give you the program. You denied it.
I know. I know. And I feel bad. I feel bad taking it from you. And then with the victory, I mean, I mean, by no means was I as exhausted as you guys, but maybe more emotionally I was. But and I don't think I was alone with crying. I'm sure there were several Saints fans then. But
oh, dude, like it was such a fun experience. I didn't feel good to lose, but like I thought about it. I was like, oh my god, like that block punt, Gleason doing his thing, like that was. I mean, it was fucking impressive.
So you talked about it. You touched on some of them. Work done. Michael Vick, Calvin Johnson, Roddy White. I mean, you've played with some greats.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the league's good, right? I mean, you don't get to the league and you're, an okay player. I mean, you have to be really, really good, the best of the best. But I mean, you have played with some upper echelon guys.
Yeah, to mention those guys' names, like those guys are,
who else?
Algie, like, who else on that?
Have you played with during your time?
Joey Harrington's another guy that I think is pretty damn good. Got a bad rap. That's a good player. I played with Dante Culpepper. Like, that's a fucking really solid quarterback.
Oh, I didn't realize you played with him.
Yeah, I played with
him. And then you also, D'Angelo Hall, too, right? Was he on? He was on the team then, too, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was. I mean, incredible cornerback. That guy's he's a solid football player. We had our disputes, but, it is what it is.
It's football. So, like Vick, just an amazing player.
Yeah.
Is he just as amazing off the field too? Just super nice guy, super chill.
Yeah. We went through that dog controversy.
Yeah.
But you talk about a guy that's just an incredible person,
Yeah.
very nice person. Like, of course we all make mistakes, but
Yeah.
Mike is, I mean, he treated me very, very well. And he welcomed me to the Southeast. I wasn't used to being here. And he cares about all the guys across the roster. Like that's a really good dude. Like if you ever want to go meet a person like Mike Vick, you know, I trust him with my daughters. Like that's a really, really good dude. Like
Was it just amazing in practice as well? I mean, maybe when you're not in there during a game and watching them, but I can't imagine some of the stuff he probably did in practice where you're just like, holy shit, how did he do that?
I mean, it's the flick. Like I think I caught a slant coming from the right side in during a camp practice, and it was probably the fastest ball I've ever seen come. He just flicked
Yeah.
it like it was that fucking fast. And not to mention his rushing skills. Like it was incredible to stand next to that man on a football field, and call myself a teammate at that point in time.
Yeah, I
But
can't imagine. I
it
can't
was
imagine.
so fucking fast. Like it was
Yeah.
just see.
I mean, I hated playing. I mean, I hated playing the Saints. Plus, say us because rooting for the Saints since birth. I feel like I'm a part of them, but I hated us playing him. But I loved watching that guy. I really
Yeah.
did. I mean, he was just
You
he was
talk about like
amazing.
so he I mean he took us out, and this is like a vivid memory. Like he took us out on Sugarloaf TPC multiple times. Never asked for a cent. Never said, "Oh, hey, Adam, it's $150 for guest fees." None of that. Like he just took us out, and we played golf out there. And I mean, that was
That's
probably,
cool.
yeah, good fucking dude. So regardless of what has happened in the past, that guy's been a constant. Like constant.
Adam, you said it too. Everybody makes mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and look what he's done since. And I'm so happy. He went away for a little bit. He came back, turned around, had success again, and now he's you see him on Sunday mornings, pre games, talking about games, and it's just amazing. It's been amazing because my boys never really got to see him play, but for them to watch highlights of him, it's just.
Yeah.
You can
No,
tell them everything, but then
I
to
can
watch,
agree.
it's just
He's one of the best.
unbelievable.
He's one of the best dudes I've ever been around. 100%. Like, and, if your boys do want to watch a highlight, probably would put that Vikings scramble
Oh
on
my
replay,
God! Yep.
where he cut back maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you about somebody else. One of my favorite players ever, Calvin Johnson. What was it like? I mean, you were a receiver.
Yeah.
Is
So-
he just head and shoulders above most of the others? I mean, is he? I just almost think of him. I mean, he looks like a Greek god anyway, right? When he played, but just
So,
his
like,
physical
the-
talents.
Yeah, the thing that sets Calvin apart, and what like you get those guys that are physically gifted. He had a work ethic that didn't quit, and it's still not quitting. Like in his after NFL career, like it just he keeps going. So that was one person I attempted to keep pace with when we did conditioning, but just humility and hard work is what sets Calvin apart. Like incredible, incredible football player, but being humble, working hard. That's Calvin in a nutshell. Like he not only did he have the skill set and ability to win like right out of the womb, but he worked harder than everybody else, and he continues to do it. In his second career, he's on his path and has not stopped. So
That's great.
that's kind of what, like in my opinion, it wouldn't be physical talent for him. Like he already had it. He could have rolled out of his mom's womb, beaten all of us, but the dude took it to the next level. Like,
And I guess that's what separates. I mean, he could have been a great anyway, but then to
He's, I
with
mean,
his work
what is he,
ethic.
30? I think he's 2 years younger than me.
Is
And
he
in the
really?
fucking, yeah, he's younger than me. He's in the fucking Hall of Fame right now. That's insane.
That's
But
crazy. I mean, legitimately, he could still be playing right now.
yeah, yeah, I think he was born, yeah, he's 37.
Wow.
Yeah. And in the Hall of Fame, like the man needs no ballots.
No,
Erase your ballots.
no, that's the
Yeah.
truth. It's just like automatic.
But no,
Uh,
he was like I say this to this day, like I played with him and Rod, and those two are the best players or the best receivers I've ever played with. Like just hands down, physicality, the whole nine. Like Roddy's probably a little bit meaner, but that guy is, dude, step onto a football field. I bet you there's nobody that can cover that dude.
you were drafted as a receiver, or what were you drafted? What position?
Pretty much I mean, I was a specialist, so I returned kicks and punts, and I covered kicks and punts. So that was what got me drafted.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, my base was, I think I had a couple hundred yards receiving, but it was really like returning kicks and punts and
But it's being versatile
covering.
too, right? I mean, these kids that maybe are good receivers, they're not great. Another way that maybe they can find their way into the league is, hey, look, I know you haven't played special teams, but that's something you might need to look at.
But like that's that's the difference maker. Like when you look at a lot of the guys that are number one, number two receivers on their team, they don't know or don't fully understand that Roddy White and Calvin Johnson's waiting to be number one and number two, right?
Yeah.
So you have to find a position for yourself, and so I think knowing playing teams, that's the way to go. It's actually changed a little bit to where we're not covering kicks and punts the same way, but that's the only way you're going to make a 52 man roster is on teams.
Yeah.
Unless you're something special, unless you're Calvin or Roddy, you're probably not going to make the fucking team. Sorry, unless you cover kicks and punts. That's the only way you're actually going to be on that bus, riding on that plane, going to play against whoever it is you might play against that week.
Yeah. That
And
makes sense. Or look at it like a
yeah,
Taysom Hill.
yeah,
Do you ever watch Taysom Hill with the Saints? I mean, Mr. Utility,
yeah,
he's everything. He's, punt return. He's covers punts. Everything on special teams. Then he's listed, I think, as a tight end and
yeah,
backup quarterback and running back and just everything.
yeah.
And
And look, I've got a ton of respect for him too. Like that guy's he's a football player. That's
yeah,
that's what he does. He plays football, and I mean you have to respect and know and understand that. Like as a receiver, if you actually do want to make a team, you should probably learn all five positions. You should probably know every single thing you need to know, and then maybe hustle a little bit, and then
yeah.
you might make a 52 or sorry 53. Is that it? Is that the number nowadays?
I think it is 53.
Shit. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm gonna shift gears here, kind of rewinding way back. Talk about your childhood a little bit. Paint me a picture about growing up, like what it was like. Give me a picture of that, just kind of you and everything else growing up.
So all the way back, I lived in a single, like my mom's single white woman, Sacramento, raising about five kids at the time. So I've got three siblings, older brother, younger brother, then I've got my older sister. So, I mean, it was rough, dude. And like, it was fun. She struggled with drugs, the whole nine. So she went through the process, right? Like the whole cycle. Lost us when we were, I think I was three, going on my fourth birthday. So I was in
Jeez.
protective custody in California. I mean, it was probably one of the most vivid memories of my life, like being removed from my mother's care. It fucking sucked. But I mean, I mean, pretty much grew up around Sacramento. Vicked a lot of drug abuse. my uncle got into our lives probably when I was about 9 or 10, and then that's when we started football and the whole nine. But like it was kind of up and down to your question when I was
Yeah.
really young. Yeah, but it
Wow.
was. I mean, it was like, dude, I look back at it like, I mean, my mom always brought a great. She brought a great environment. Like her love, her care for us was always there. But dude, she got left out in the open. You know, like
Yeah.
think about that. 4 kids on welfare.
Yeah. I can't
That
imagine
that
that.
was rough, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
can't.
yeah,
And
I, I,
then
I could imagine. I could imagine her struggle. I
that
respect it.
struggling with drugs, everything else. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
where she's. I mean,
oh,
been
good.
clean for a long time. Uh, so I mean, she's grandma. So, but dude, it was one of it was one of those situations where I was like, fuck, dude, I can only imagine being in that tough of an environment. Like,
Yeah. So you mentioned, I can't either. And I appreciate you sharing that. Um, you mentioned your uncle, but was there a father involved, or was your uncle sort of the father figure of your life growing
yeah,
up?
so he came in when I was. I mean, he was there, but he started to
Your
be.
uncle?
Yeah, my
Okay.
uncle started to be really involved when I was probably about 9, 10.
Okay.
Um, and that's when like he took my older brother to play football, and then that's when I got involved as well. So, but no, my father to your question, my father was not really that much involved. Um,
What other men were involved? Kind of in your upbringing and kind of just throughout your life that were involved. That were involved and played a big part.
yeah, so say right now there are a couple of names that come to mind. There's John Rowland. He was a chief for California Highway Patrol.
Hmm.
There's David McCoy, who adopted me in high school. There's Ty Franklin. Like, so I have I mean, there's multiple different dudes that have kind of given me, perspective as a man to where I'm like, I felt pretty good. Like I was protected well in my uncle, of course, when I was younger, but like John Rowland coached me. He was a chief for the California Highway Patrol. Ty Franklin, his brother, used to pick me up, kind of cart us around town. David McCoy adopted me in high school, took care of me, and kind of showed me the path from there. But like those guys, kind of, I mean, they stand out as you know, in my younger life, like those dudes helped me out a ton.
So you've been fortunate to have those people come
Yeah,
into your life.
yeah.
I mean,
Just
especially with what was surrounding you, background, everything else. I mean, your life could have gone completely different, and
yeah,
thankfully, those people had a big effect in your life.
yeah. They
I mean,
did.
hell, I mean, everything
So
I know about you, you've turned out to be a great guy. Successful professionally. You know, NFL and as well after the league, and great dad as well. So very fortunate there.
dude, we try, don't we? We try. No.
So, uh, let's. All right. So we're gonna go to your family. We're gonna skip ahead now. After the league, you started a family. AJ was born. Your first was born shortly after you left the league. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so he was so I was in Detroit when he was
Uh,
born. So
okay.
his birthday is August 1st, 2009, I think.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when he was born, and then Ace is 2012, Arrow's 2018, Coco's 2020.
Okay.
So
So four. How is that?
it's a lot of
Oof. It's a lot.
it's
That's a
rough.
lot on you.
Yeah.
Now, and there's four children. AJ is living with his mom.
Yep.
right now, out of state in Florida, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yeah.
What are the challenges of that? Because I know you are a very involved father, and you've had a lot to do with AJ, and not just his upbringing, but also with his sports and such. What are some of the challenges there? How do you get over those?
It's actually been really, so it's probably tougher for Ace and the rest of our family, but dude, like I think from coaching his team every day than to not being involved at all, that's probably the point of pain, right? Where I'm like,
Yeah,
shit, I wish I could be there, but I'm not. So he, I think he's handling it well. Like probably the our biggest issue has been just settling him in transportation. So like whether he's here or there,
yeah,
like how comfortable he may or may not be has probably been our biggest point of pain. So it's like making sure he gets there safely. I communicate with his mother. I go through the whole process at the airport. Like, and I'm seeing it all. Like I see all these little kids, walking through security. And I can only imagine, the path they're on. But I'm
yeah,
like, I just want to make sure he gets here, gets there, and he's safe and okay. You know,
yeah,
and that's I think that's probably been the most difficult thing to navigate for me is making sure, okay, here you are, buddy. Like we got to get there an hour and a half before, to get through security. We got to feed you. We got to do this. And just that transition from being here to there, and it's only once a month. It's, he's coming home this weekend, but it's still like that's been probably the most difficult point in the process, making sure he's okay.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
would imagine too, though, missing some of his games and that type school events
Yeah.
would be pretty challenging.
Well, you already know I've already got him back. I've got two really good friends that live in Tampa, Clearwater. They're going to go to his games. Like I can't
Good,
be there, so they'll be there.
good.
And well, I've already set the wheels in motion. There, it's already going to happen.
Make sure Team Adam is at least supported somehow, right?
Yeah.
We
Look,
need to get a little cutout of your head, and so they can
yeah,
hold it up and everything.
yeah. He doesn't need to see. He's going to see Therian Fontenot. He's going to see Clifton Smith. They both
Oh,
live
there
in
you go. There you go. Very good. Very good.
love. So,
So, what other challenges being a dad, like hardest things that you find out, um, you know, challenging times, that type. What are some of those with you, like that you find? I mean, because look, you've got kids from 1, right, to
yeah,
13.
yeah.
That's a
So,
huge range.
yeah. And I challenging is being patient with the tiny people. So, having to be here, having to change diapers again. Like, so we've hit the whole reset button, myself and Annie, to where we had to slow it back down. So life is restarted. It's restarted with Coco and Arrow, and so knowing and understanding that has been that's a fucking huge challenge. Like being able to reset, step back, and change a pamper. Like I think that's been one of the more challenging points for us. Um, in addition to that, so like I mean, I think you spoke this to me. You didn't say it directly, but I think managing relationships amongst co-parents,
Yeah.
that's been like, dude, like emotionally, like you have to have some high degree of awareness, and that's been a challenge for me. Like, and it's getting better. Like, my wife, I mean, I think she knows and understands me well enough.
Yeah, that can certainly
Yeah.
be extremely
And
challenging.
and Annie's, I mean, she's a highly intelligent person. Um, and so she's aware of it. She knows, she kind of knows and understands it, but at the same time, those emotions still arise, and that's probably one of my other pain points where I'm like, all right, can't we all just get along? You know, like,
Hey, let's just focus on the kids, do what's best for them, you know,
and so that's
in the
actually,
perfect world.
that's probably one of the more painful points where I'm like, can we just chill out for a second? That's all
Yeah.
good, you know.
So I want to ask you a question. I hope you're okay with it. Um, Race. How do you and do you talk to your kids about race? And if you don't mind kind of giving me insight with that.
That's a great question. So with AJ's he's a little bit different than Ace. So Ace he's an Asian American, um, and so that's I mean we don't walk in and identify as that. We don't discuss it, but like I'm aware of it. Like I know how he may or may not be treated based on his race, and how he looks.
Right.
But like to your point, we don't discuss it. Like it's not it's not something that we bring into a conversation. AJ's the same way. Like AJ looks, I mean, he's mixed with black, but the kid looks white. I mean, he looks like he probably could be your son, but he's not aware of it. He doesn't know. Like we don't even think about it or discuss it. And I think it's important at this age not to go down that path. Like, are we aware of it? Probably. You know, it's the same thing for my daughters. Like, we don't like we don't. I wouldn't say we're colorblind, but we're oblivious to what most people are talking about.
Yeah.
So if you talk about race, no, we're not talking about that. Right. And it's not a point like if at some point in time they bring it up, I think we can cross that path. But for them, they're not aware of it. Like it doesn't come up at all in conversation. And I think I mean AJ actually probably say maybe 2 years ago he just learned that he was somewhat black. He had black in his blood. Like he didn't know, but it's something that came up, and he brought it up and it was like I think Annie mentioned it was like, do you know you're mixed with black? You know that? Now he does. Yes. But no,
He's
no.
like, no shit.
Yeah, he was like, no shit, black too? Like,
What else?
put that on a college application. You're getting in, pal. In California, you put Asian, you're not getting in. Put black,
Too funny.
put black on your application. You're getting into the fucking school.
You know, Adam, but maybe one day we're not a race. Maybe we're just everybody and that's it.
Yeah. And I will say this, I think I said this to you in conversation, like some of the most oppressed people are some of the kindest people you'll ever meet. So the Asian man, the black man, like some of the most oppressed people over time are some of, I mean, those are people you don't hold back, show
Yeah.
kindness, have conversations. Like, that's kind of where, I mean, luckily that's where my family lies, Asian and black, and white as well. So I kind of taste the gauntlet of all cultures, and that's one place to your point where you probably want to ask those questions, like
Yeah.
where you feel comfortable, you can extend a hand and get those questions answered. So,
All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Most proud moment of being a dad.
uh,
I'll
uh,
tell you mine. Um, as early on, it was, hey, stand up for your brother. And I mean, there's been a lot of times I've been proud
yeah,
of the kids, but there was an instance where one of them literally stood up for the other one when there was a bully picking on him, and it was like, you've listened. I've only beat this into your head for the last 6 years, and you did listen. Um, and they had no idea I was watching, but
well, what was it?
Wait, what?
Did he jump kick a kid in the back? What happened?
No, he actually didn't. But his little brother was
Yeah.
getting bullied by a kid, and so my oldest one um, told the bully to stop, and the bully just totally ignored him and flipped around like, I'm not listening to you. And so my oldest one, Max, grabbed him by the shoulder and slung him around and got right back in, and got right up in his face and told him, he said, look, I'm talking to you. Don't you ever
Yeah.
do that to him again. Do you understand me? And
Oh,
I won't say his name, but the bully was like, okay, I'm sorry. And
okay.
And then Max, my oldest, he then noticed me peering around a corner, and he looked, and his face was like, oh shit, I'm about to get in trouble. And so I'm like, hey, come here. And he's got his head all
So,
down.
so,
He's, you know,
hey, money moment. I can't go to my favorite moment. I've got to chime in
yeah.
on yours. So I had the same situation. Ace was getting bullied on our trampoline by a kid across the street. And so I told AJ, I was like, if he does that again, your instructions are to punch him square in the face. Like punch him in the face as soon as he does it. And sure enough, AJ, so one of my proud moments, maybe about a month later, punched this kid right in the schnash. Like sent him home crying. Like I didn't see it, but he came upstairs and told me proud. He was like, "Oh, Dad, Evan punched him in the face." I was like, "Really?" He's like, he was picking on Ace. I was like, "Yeah, good work."
Good job.
Punched him right in the damn face. So
There's
that's
been a lot though. There are actually, both with both of them. You talking about that though, like with screw ups. One of the questions I was going to ask you is like, when have you screwed up as a dad? This was kind of funny. So I was coaching soccer, and again, it's with my oldest, and I guess the screw ups definitely are going to be more so with your oldest because I'm still figuring out being a dad, and my oldest had a pretty good leg at soccer. And so they were starting off, and when they're young, it's not, they don't pass the ball behind the center line or pass the ball to start. It's just, hey, you have the ball, y'all kick the ball, everybody runs to the ball in a mass, and, and then eventually that mass moves to a goal and somebody scores.
yeah,
So he was the one to start the game. He was the one to kick, and the other team is lined up probably 10 yards from where the ball is. And so I told Max, I'm like, hey, just kick it right at the goal. Kick it straight at the goal. You'll probably score. You've got a strong enough leg. It's not that far. Just kick it right at the goal. So he's like, really, Dad? I'm like, yeah. And I was his coach. I'm like, yeah, just kick it right at the goal. So the ref tells him to start. He kicks, and the kid that's lined up right across from him, bow, right in the forehead. The kid goes down. He's crying. There's all this going on. They had to stop the game. The kid gets pulled out. I'm like, oh, gosh. My son was feeling bad. So then not only did I not learn from that, I repeated the process. So the next time we're kicking off, the same thing. He's like, what should I do? I'm like, I'm thinking, there's no way in this world is he going to kick the ball and hit that kid again. Like, that's just not going to happen. I'm like, just get a little bit more under the ball and you'll clear him this time. Turns around, different kid, boom, right in the nose. Explodes. I'm like, all right. I learned a little bit that day, and I'm like, yeah, that's a big
that's
screw up.
incredible. That's honestly, that's where we end this whole thing. That's fucking incredible.
So tell me about you with screwing up. Tell me.
Yeah. Me, it's probably with so I'm learning that I coach football way better than I coach baseball because I understand the game. So baseball, with AJ, especially with my first, I used to I'll be in the backyard just screaming at this guy, just keep your glove right here, do this. Like, so old commando style. Like, I'm
Right.
right there in his face, like, focus on the green dot. And look, tell you right, here's the green dot. So keep your eye behind the glove. You
Right.
see?
Yeah.
Eyes up. So like I mean, that was where I was insane. Like I was just like, keep your man behind the ball, and the whole gauntlet. So that's probably where I messed up with AJ. Like I was way too intense, and yeah, I'd say that was probably my issue. That's where I made a mistake. But yeah, I was able to recover. He's still a decent dude.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, this green dot. This is Ace's glove, by the way. The green
That's
dot.
funny.
Damn.
It's amazing what we can do. And
Yeah. Both of their eyes got blacked, by the way, because I was throwing the ball directly at them. And anytime the glove moved,
yeah.
it would deflect, hit him in the face. And I was just like, you know what? Play the next play, pal. Probably shouldn't have done that, but
Probably not. Probably not.
yeah.
Hey, so tell me this. When will, and I don't think we've touched on this, or what will it take for you to realize one day, whether it's now, whether it's 30, 40 years from now, like, you know what? I did a good job as a dad. Like, I did a pretty good job. I mean, I wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything that you can really put your finger on, or do you think just maybe that time will come?
Yeah, I think it'll come. Like I realize it now. Like I'm putting in the effort. Like I'm very active in their lives. But for a dad, like you always think about it, or this is the way I actually think about it and understand it. Like Mother's Day is always celebrated like tremendously. Everybody knows and understands Mother's Day. Father's Day comes and goes. Nobody really cares about it. They do. They do for probably young ladies and people that remember their fathers, but I think it's ever constant battle for me. Like, and I don't think I'm ever gonna be well, okay. I'm a good dad. Like, no matter what. Like, just to the story I just mentioned to you. Like, some point in time, AJ's gonna remember getting screamed at in the backyard.
Yeah.
He won't remember any of the rest of the shit. But it's you're like I feel like I'm always going to be correcting. So yeah, I mean I'm comfortable with it, but
It's trial and
I
error.
think yeah, it's an ever constant battle, and I realize yeah I'm a good dad, but I guess we'll see tomorrow. Right? Like tomorrow's going to come, and whether I'm a good dad that day or not, somebody may or may not remember it. So that's kind of my wiping the slate clean approach to it. Like it's never good enough. Like it's never going to get there. So
You know what, though? I think that's part of, I think even having those concerns and those thoughts are continuing to push you to be a good dad, where I don't
I
think
agree.
you will ever be fulfilled with yourself, or give
Yeah,
you the credit. But I do know this, that you give your children a lot of quality time. And I think that, and I know when AJ is with you, that's filled with quality time. There's not a lot of,
yeah,
other stuff, you going off playing golf or doing other things. It is you and AJ, you and Ace, y'all are doing things together. And
yeah.
I think
I mean,
that is what the kids need.
it's very similar to your fishing trips with your
Yeah.
boys. Like it's the same exact thing. Like I'm like, all right, let me slow down. Let me just be here for a moment, and that's I think those are the moments that count, and those are the things that I'll remember and will probably last, throughout there, and hopefully they become great fathers as well. So that's what I'm hopeful for. So
So, what about life lessons? Are you a big life lessons guy? I am. And with the kids, we can, oh my gosh, we can watch anything. I mean, we watch a lot of football movies, whether it's Remember the Titans, We Are Marshall, Rudy, Blindside. I'm always stopping the show, even so much that my youngest will go, "Oh, another life lesson from Dad." Are you? uh, and I'm like, "Look, I know you don't enjoy it, but these things are important, And so, like a 2 hour movie takes us literally about 2.5 hours because I can be a little long winded, and not only do I stop it and tell them about, provide them with more insight, but of course I have to go in and put one of my life stories in there to hopefully really submit it into their head.
Talk about himself.
Yeah. Oh gosh, here's Dad again with one of his stupid stories. Are you big with life lessons and that type? Are there certain things you want to, really instill in your kids?
Yeah. So there's one dude that comes to mind when like I've actually studied this recently. Like I went back, started training again. So I train Wing Chun Kung Fu.
Oh, wow.
And I've trained it since 2009. And so I've studied under Sifu Francis Fong. And one of the foundational people in that system is Ip Man. So if you've ever watched the movie Ip Man,
can't say that I have.
It's in Chinese, but
definitely can't say that I have.
Well, is that you can't? Okay.
No.
Well, take a few minutes to watch it when you have the opportunity. And like I love the movie. And there's many different reasons why I love it, but it's comes from kind of a place of humility, unsuspecting guy, but like life lessons, that's a dude that I've been studying and study him. I just went back and, had a conversation with Guru Dan and Osanto. There are different dudes in the martial arts world that I've been blessed to come into contact with. And Ip Man, that's a good movie. If you watch, number 2 is not as good as number 1, but the first one is like, that's where like I'm kind of drawing some of my life lessons from. Just the guy kind of goes up and down, and still maintains. Sorry, what the hell just happened? Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna turn off this. Alexa, stop the music. So that's, to close it out, like there's a couple of scenes in that movie where I'm like, this is kind of who I want to be, or this is how I feel about it, like life lesson wise. And it's captured like pretty simply, like in a couple of his battles. So, I would take time to watch that.
So there are subtitles.
Yeah, there are. So,
so I have to watch it and work. Like I actually have to do something while I'm watching. I can't just.
Yeah, you probably need to put on your big glasses.
Yeah,
the ones
probably
you're
so.
Right now.
I will probably. That's age. That's age. Adam, I've enjoyed this a lot. What have I missed?
Nothing, man. I feel like we can close out.
I always enjoy talking with you, and we always bust each other's balls, and you're a fun guy, great guy. I've always had a lot of respect for you, and we've always seemed to get along, and I appreciate you letting me interview you here just so we can kind of learn a little bit more about you.
I can't wait for your interview, by the way. It's coming up next.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So, all right. Well, we'll wrap it up here then. All right, Adam. Thank you again. And look, hey, thanks everybody for listening to Dad's podcast. And remember, you can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as well as on Instagram and YouTube. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. And thanks so much for listening in.